Want to know how you can gain access to capital to jumpstart your journey to entrepreneurial success? For entrepreneurs who are just starting out or those who have been in business for years, Minority Business Access is your podcast. Welcome to our show, where we will guide you in avoiding the pitfalls and thriving in your chosen business. Now, onto the show with your host, Solomon Ali.
Today we're going to speak about something that's really important to every business owner or entrepreneur out there that's thinking about becoming a business owner. If you're thinking about becoming a business owner, there's one key thing that everyone needs to know, and that's about financing. Where do you get money? How do you get money? And what do you actually need? And who should you contact? Well, the business lady is the person that I believe you should contact. Spend a great time speaking with her, learning and understanding her business and her industry from my previous years of 32 years of being in financing. So I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself and give her backstory, and then tell a little bit about her business, and then we're going to ask some questions so that you can have a better understanding and grasp of what it is that she does and how she may be able to help your business.
So my name is Jada, the business lady. I've been providing access to business funding and business resources since about 2012 here in Charlotte. I actually have been doing it for now about 15 or 16 years. So basically what I do is, if there's a business owner that is looking to start, grow, or expand their business, I typically research their business and match them to the lenders that I have in my network. Right now I have access to over 400 lenders in all industries. Some of the services that we provide is term loans, lines of credit, SBA funding. We have equipment leasing, factoring, accounts receivable financing, purchase order financing. We even have other unique funding opportunities like 401k financing and book of business financing. So with all of those, I'm able to pretty much create a package or tailor a program to the individual business owner.
Wow, that's very impressive. Now, can you tell me a little bit about you?
So me, that's a lot. So basically, I started off as, I've always been self-employed. I've started business, owned businesses, managed business owners, and originally I had a dream. I was managing some businesses for a few people at an early age, and I had a dream to open my own business. And I wrote it all out. I did a couple of things, did my research for it, and at the time, I was living on Section 8 with two small children. I mean, when I say small, I mean 1 and 3 years old. So at the time when I was looking to start my business, there wasn't a lot of resources at the time because, like I said, I grew up in an urban environment. My mom, she always had her own businesses or side ventures going on, but she wasn't a business owner. And there wasn't a lot of business owners around. There wasn't a lot of people who could help me fulfill my dreams, so to speak. So it just required a lot of research on my end, a lot of motivation, a lot of desire. And through all of that, I learned how to acquire $150,000 in business funding for myself.
Wow, Jada, I find that really mind-boggling, absolutely amazing. Did I hear you correctly when you said that you started with less than what most people would consider on Section 8, and then you were able to raise money to start your own business?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. It was a challenge. I mean, of course, it takes dedication and consistency, and then it has to take. You have to educate yourself. I tell everybody, educating yourself is important. You have to educate yourself. I had no college degree. I just knew what I wanted in life, and I was willing to do what it took to get there. I knew for me, at the time when I first had the desire, I was about 19, 20 years old, and I had children already, and so I said, okay, well, listen, this is not the way that I want to live. So I just decided to educate myself, and I reached out to a few people that I thought would be beneficial to me, but at the end of the day, it was It was about my tenacity, about my motivation, about me being willing to put the work in. And like I said, I acquired $150,000 worth of funding.
Where did that inspiration come from? How did you get it? Where?
So I would say, I want to be humble enough and say I was born with it. I always was driven. I always had a goal, and I always met goals. And I tell anybody that when you have goals, you gotta celebrate the milestones. And for me, celebrating the milestones is what continue to drive the wheel. A lot of people that were around me at the time, if they fail or if they succeed, or they reached a milestone a little bit later than what they desired, or they fell a little bit short of their goals, they didn't know, they just would give up. For me, that was a celebration, and then it created the momentum that created the more desire to achieve more. And I tell people that, and just to kind of touch on a few things, I just say you have to celebrate any accomplishment, and just it's the same as you would celebrate any failure, because that creates the momentum to build off of. You have to first establish the foundation, then you do the framing, then after you do the framing you may do the drywall, but in each step you have to continue to motivate yourself.
So let me ask you this, Jada. If you were speaking to women, okay, whether they're black, white, just women, what would you say to them that they need to do to get started? What would be the most important thing and piece of information you could give them?
The information that I give everybody, even my children, is write your vision and make it plain. When you write it down, it becomes tangible. It becomes a real living, breathing thing. For me, I have notebooks upon notebooks upon notebooks, and even then, since I was a young child, I just wrote out everything. I wrote it out, and the writing created a picture for me. It was visualization. And so, if you don't know where to start, sometimes the vision will open up new opportunities for you that you'll be able to see and create a bigger picture. And I call it the yellow brick road. A lot of times, people don't know where to go, but once you create the vision of the end result of where you want to be, the road lights up. That's how it happened for me. And I'm not going to say that it's just me, because anybody that I mentor or I coach or I help them build their businesses, the first thing I tell them is, do you have that written down? And if they say no, then you don't want it bad enough. Because you have to see that image in order to see that image. For what was the for the yellow brick road? She was trying to get to
follow the yellow brick road.
Where was she trying to go?
What was it, Kansas City?
No, she was trying to get to, what was it? The Emerald City.
Oh, okay.
So she didn't know how to get to the Emerald City, but she just wanted to get there.
Right. Okay.
And as she decided that was her desire to get to the Emerald City so she can get to Kansas, the road lit up for her. That's my life story.
Wow, that's very impressive. So, if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is that it doesn't matter where you start. Write it down, make it plain. Okay. Don't worry about the capital per se, because once you make it plain, it will show up through your efforts and your hard work. So, and you're a mentor to others that's looking to do better and go further.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I heard you say that your mother had many types of businesses, but you didn't quite qualify them that way. But could that have been where you started or got that entrepreneur spirit?
Definitely. We talk about this often in my family. My mom always says, her father, he was a barber. He always, aspired to be, independent and have his own and operate his own business. And my mother, she did have jobs, 9 to 5s, but she would always have side ventures. And in those side ventures, she would often make my sisters and I participate. So she was a seamstress, she did taxes on the side, she always had something going on. And it was mostly not because she wanted to be a business owner, it was because she was more of a creative.
Okay. You know, I'm reflecting back, Jada, to when I first met you. I met you at a place that I frequent
Right.
a lot, and you were kind of standoffish.
Right.
Do you remember that?
I remember.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Tell the audience, and you know, I got to share with you guys this. Jada is extremely successful in what she does, in helping people and things of that nature. And I
Not the filter.
noticed that once you had filtered through the sifting, I'm gonna call it the sifting,
Right.
and you sift through, and you're like, oh, okay, this person is kind of serious.
Right.
You are looking for people who are serious
Very
about
serious.
their business,
Very serious.
so that they don't waste. And it used to be for me. I don't want to speak for you, but allow me to, if you don't mind. That are serious about their business, so that they don't waste your time.
Right.
Because you
And-
know you can help them,
And
right?
here's the thing. Here's the thing for me. I don't even want you to waste your time. You know, I honestly don't even want you to waste your time. Time is very important. That's the greatest asset we have. And so, you know, a lot of times if I'm having a broad conversation with somebody and they go into talking about their business, you know, I ask them direct questions because you're running around the mulberry bush and you don't even have clear direction on where you're going. Now you're not only just wasting my time, you're wasting your time. So a lot of times, even in initial conversation, if somebody's saying, well, I have a business idea, or they know what I do, and they come and they say, hey, I have a business idea, this is what I'm thinking about. And I say, okay, so how long have you been thinking about it? and that's the first question. And then the second question is always, well, have you written it down? Because you haven't made it real to yourself yet.
So Jada,
Yes.
did you self-teach yourself, or did you have a mentor? Could you tell me a little bit about that?
So, as mentioned previously, I did a lot of the teaching myself. You know, there was no structure. There was just a desire, and so I just researched and researched and researched. But along the way, when I was trying to start my business, or I had a desire to do my business, I actually went and worked under someone else. And you know, at the time, I thought it was a mentorship. And I kind of found out throughout the times, because I was smart, I knew how to do things, that it was more of a situation where it benefited her more than it benefited me. And that's why I tell people now, be very, keep your eyes open on what's the difference between somebody who's supposed to be your mentor, somebody who is benefiting from the things that you can do.
Okay, so for someone listening today, what would you say to them about picking and choosing a mentor from what you've already learned?
Are they motivating you to grow
Wow.
past what you even see as capable for yourself?
Wow.
That's and so along the way I've had motivators, but in mentorship and motivators, are they motivating you past where you even see yourself?
Jada,
Yes.
the business lady.
Yes.
Now, I know everyone's anxious to know, including myself. The audience wants to know, how can you help them with the lending process?
Okay. So the Linden process is very, very, very challenging to navigate if you don't understand it, and if you don't educate yourself. Typically, when you go into a bank, this is one of the biggest things that I hear. Oh, my bank said they're gonna give me $20,000. I've been with them 10 years. Oh, my bank said just come on in. They don't understand that the people that's working in the bank, you know, they get paid by the numbers, and so the goal is to get as many applications as they can. And so a lot of times you go into the bank, they don't tell you the criteria. They don't tell you, you know, the type of programs available because they're very limited. And in all honesty, they do not like to lend to small businesses. And so by the time we have that conversation, I say, okay, well, if your bank said you can get $20,000, go to your bank. They come back to me and say, well, they gave me $2,000, they gave me $3,000. So with me, I help them navigate that process. You know, it's almost like a matchmaker. You're, you know, without the dating, okay? And so they come to me and they say, hey, you know, I'm looking for this type of funding. You know, I inquire about their project. You know, I ask a few pre-qualifying questions. You know, what is your credit? You know, what kind of revenue are you generating? You know, do you have any collateral? And the major thing for business funding, which is also the industry that I'm in, is the alternative lending space. Alternative lending is a broad term, but it just means that, there's private equity firms, mutual funds, there are alternative lenders that operate the same as banks, and then some banks. And then there are also other lenders that pool their funds from conventional banks. But they are more willing to partner with business owners. And so that process typically goes, if you're looking for any type of funding, like I said, I'll inquire about what it is that you have. And then, after I do that, then I will do the whole matching. I pretty much leverage the relationships that I've had since the past 10 or 15 years, and I get you approved. The approval process is pretty simple. You submit your application. I do all of the upfront work. I do all of the negotiating on the terms. I have all the prevalent conversations. I even create the story for my clients, because a lot of times when you have someone like me, I have the relationship, so I have the ability to create that story.
Wow. So let me see if I understand this correctly. Okay. Jada, you're able to help them by being the matchmaker, matching them up, teaching them and guiding them through that minefield to help them get the maximum amount of monies that they can possibly get.
Right.
Okay, so that they can grow and expand their business.
Right.
Okay. And so if it was me, I just come to you, give you everything that you asked for,
Right.
and I could walk away and be comfortable in your hands that you
Right.
will get everything else taken care of.
Exactly. And here's another thing that most people don't know. It's two things that I try to let people know. In the business funding world, it's apples and oranges to personal funding. So one, people are so reliant on their banks. And then number two, everybody generalizes everything they know about funding into what they've learned about personal funding. And it's apples and oranges. In the business credit world or the business funding world, the only three things that are a criteria for any type of approval is cash flow, credit, or collateral. We call them the 3 C's. That's cash flow, credit, or collateral. If you're in the personal funding space, then you have to deal with things like utilization, and have to deal with certain things like debt to income ratios. Those are not important. In the business funding world, is do you have cash, do you have credit, or do you have collateral? If you have one of those things, it has to be very strong. If you have two of those things, you pretty much qualify for just about all of the alternative funding programs that is available. And if you have all three of those things, you're golden. You can get what you want. And so in that space is where first I have to educate, because it's a switch on the mindset when it comes to personal funding. And that's why most people are not approved, because they go into it seeking funding with the mindset of they're acquiring personal funding. It's completely different.
Okay. That brings me to an interesting question, because when I was in the business before, we had to provide, this for businesses, we had to provide 3 years of financials of the business, 3 years of financials personally, as well as 3 years of tax returns both ways.
Right.
So has that somewhat changed?
It has not changed. It just depends on the program that you are seeking to get. Okay, so if you are seeking a program where you're getting like term loans, if you're seeking a program where you want extensive lines of credit, that's what they call full documentation. In the alternative, in the funding world or any type of banking world, that's called full doc. So in full documentation, of course, you're going to have to provide all of that, but that's when you get those premium programs.
So I also noticed that when I first started out, and I remember the first time that I had a really bad experience with a bank. And I shouldn't say it was bad, because I got the money.
Right.
But what I mean by bad was I went to the banker, and Jada, they asked me what was it that I wanted to do, as if I knew all their programs.
Right.
So if someone comes to you,
I educate them on the programs.
you will take them through and you will teach them the programs and help them navigate that.
Right.
So they won't feel like I felt at the time, like a dummy sitting back saying, well, I don't know what you have.
Right.
I didn't know what I needed.
Right. So the most important thing, and I was going to touch on that also, is that there are lenders that just have their sweet spot. I call them sweet spots because they have their sweet spots. You don't know it, but they have their sweet spots. Because I have the relationships and I manage those relationships, the first thing that I do is I match them with someone who if you have a trucking company, then I'm going to match you with lenders that love trucking companies. If your revenue is low, then I'm going to match you with companies that you don't have to gross $30,000 and $40,000 a month, or be a $2-3 million business. If you have, your credit is not so great, then I'm going to match you with those lenders that credit is not a requirement, just as long as that you have strong revenue.
Okay. So basically, what I hear you saying, Jada, is a company, even if they may have some challenges, when they come to you, you're like their guardian angel.
Pretty much.
Wow. That's amazing. That is totally amazing.
And I'm going to get them approved. And the benefits of that is if I can't get them approved, then I will help them with a funding strategy that they will be approved in the near future.
You know, Jada, I wanted to ask you,
Okay.
what are some of the books that you like to read or podcasts that you listen to?
So I have 3 books, and every entrepreneur that I come across, this is what I recommend to them. I've read dozens of books, but the 3 that I think is most influential to entrepreneur or business owner's life is, of course, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. One of my favorites. I
like
read it
that
often.
too.
I read it often. And then there's a segue book that is almost like an instructional manual to Think and Grow Rich, because Think and Grow Rich it's kind of intense. And so as you're living your day-to-day life, it's kind of like, okay, what do I do now? There's a book called You Were Born Rich by Bob Proctor. That's also my favorite. He kind of teaches you what you're supposed to do on a daily basis to maintain that mindset. And then a lot of things are focused so much on mindset. I would say those were my 2 favorites on mindset, because mindset is the most important when you're going to dive into any endeavor. The most important, you want to say is capital, you want to say is network. No, it's mindset, period. And so, once you get to that point of mindset, you also have to understand how opportunities work. And so when it comes down to opportunities, there's a book called, and it totally just blanked my mind. There's a book called The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. That's the most important book to my transition into understanding how to seize opportunities. And I encourage everybody, my sons have read it, my friends have read it, I encourage everybody to read that. But like I said, I feel like before you even get to the point where you're understanding opportunities and how they work, you still have to create that mindset first. Those are my 3 top recommendations for reading.
Wow, that sounds really interesting.
Very.
So let's go back. What would Jada say to her younger self?
What would Jada say to her younger self? I would say believe in yourself more and celebrate failures. The believe in myself more, it sounds like a contradiction, but because I've always believed in myself, I always believed in the tenacity I had to achieve goals and make things happen for myself. And my business organically developed from that. And so I never really promoted myself or stood from the rafters and said, hey, this is what I do. And I feel like for me, not only did I miss opportunities because of that, I missed opportunities where I could be a helpmeet to someone else. Don't get me wrong, I've helped tons of people through my network, strategic partnerships. Thank God I'm probably like a 99.9% referral business. But because I, at times, in the past, I did not promote myself or push and say, let's transition from call Jada to call me. A lot of my opportunities came from call Jada, she has the answers, but not so much from call me. And so I tell any entrepreneur, anybody that has a goal, believe in yourself, promote yourself. There's a saying that I love the most that says, work hard as hell and then advertise. I love it. And then on the, celebrate failures, and that also always throws people off a little bit. Celebrate your failures. My whole business is based off failures, and I'm able to help the people that I help because of failures. And there was a time in my life that if I failed, I would beat myself up a little bit. I would get back up. That's why I'm successful. But I would beat myself up. But I would beat myself up and get back up with the mindset of, what other choice do I have? And when I transitioned my mindset to being grateful and being thankful because of the failures and the lessons that I learned, the downtimes actually minimized, and the downsides actually turn quicker into upsides. And so I tell anybody, when you fail, celebrate that. It was two things, and I always have a saying for everything. It was two things my mom told me growing up. Growing up, and one after I started my business. The first one growing up was, I would be so mad at myself. I would get back up. She would say, "Did you do your best?" And I'd be like, "Yes." And she said, "Well, what you complaining for?" And so then I'll come back about something else, and she say, "Did you do your best?" And I say, "No." "Well, what you complaining for?" And so that's what I tell myself on a daily basis. If you did your best, what are you complaining for? And if you didn't do your best, what you complaining for? And then the second thing she told me that really transitioned my life after my biggest failure, when I closed my salon and my cosmetology school, and I was in my 20s, my kids were still here. That was my first big business. I closed it, and I just was so upset. And she's a wonderful person because her empathy level is kind of whatever. And so she said to me, "Well, take it like this. You finally got your college education and you don't have any student loans." So, those are the two things that kind of transitioned my life to where, I decided to learn to celebrate my failures, learn to believe in myself a little bit more. Every time I celebrate my failures, like I kid you not, my downside switched to upside almost immediately. I start to see opportunities as opposed to challenges.
Jada, if I heard you correctly, and this is for the audience, you had some failures.
Lots of them.
And you overcame those failures. Did they really, I know you overcame them, but for the audience, someone else who may have had a failure, what can they expect? I mean, the myth is you won't be able to get a loan, or you won't be able to do it, or something of that nature. Can you help that kind of person?
Absolutely.
And can you tell us a little bit about that failure and how you rebound to just give someone else some inspiration?
First thing with failures is to take full responsibility of them. Like I said, in addition to celebrating them, like that's unheard of. First, I always have a downtime in myself because it's natural to feel bad after a failure. It's very natural. You just don't want to dwell in it. I take some real serious time with myself, and I take full responsibility of it. A lot of times when people fail, they say, "Well, my staff didn't do this, my friends didn't do this, my mom didn't love me enough." You take full responsibility of it. When you take full responsibility of it, it creates a platform for growth, right? And then after I go through that phase of taking full responsibility of it, I celebrate all of it. I celebrate all of it because that's how you transition. That's how you see the opportunities. I get grateful in it. And then in getting grateful in it, that's when I say, okay, you know what? What did I learn? And where can I take this to in the future? And so for a business owner that fails, or anybody that fails, the first thing is take full responsibility. Do it fast. Take full responsibility of it fast. Celebrate fast, and then you regroup. You go back. When you take full responsibility, it creates a platform for you to go back in and dissect the things that went wrong. If you don't take responsibility, you can never do that. And so if you're trying to get back into business, those will be the first steps. Then after that, execute. Okay. It's just that simple. It's nothing else to that. Execute. Whatever you dissect and you came up with this whole full plan, this is where it went wrong and this is what I need to do this time, execute. And then come see somebody like me.
Okay. And seeing someone like you, after I've had a failure or two, okay, credit may be a little spotty, things of that nature, business ain't going too well, or I'm just starting up again, you can really help someone like me at that point.
Absolutely. I actually like businesses that are in startup phase and start over phase. They're a lot more fun for me because the slate is clean. Change management and coming in and rebuilding a brand, that's a little challenging because a lot of times the business owner has not completely let go. They it's their baby. They don't want to throw the baby out, so that can be a little bit challenging. But when you when you are in startup or start over phase, even in start over phase, and you do the first steps, which is, take full responsibility of it, to celebrate the failure, then it's a clean slate, a platform for you to come in and see somebody like me, and we can have something to build a solid foundation of. Sometimes it's okay to tear the house down. Most times it's okay to tear the house down. And so I recommend that often. Let's go back in and let's break it apart. Let's see, so we can be able to dissect it.
Wow. That reminds me, I've had many business failures before I got to where I am today. And some, if you don't know, most of my audience probably already know.
Right.
And being one of 15 people that ran publicly traded companies. But before then, I had lost everything.
Right.
I had lost it all and was even thinking about committing suicide and taking my own life and things like that. Didn't want to have anything else to do with business. And then I got an opportunity to help some people. And they said, well, can you really do what you say you can do? And at that time I was in finance and everything, and in 2008 when everyone was getting their credit lines cut, I was able to help someone get a unlimited amount of credit, really large, and everyone was really shocked. And I recall when I started and how I learned to do it, I had to do it by hard knocks.
Right.
So what a blessing to have someone like yourself to be able to help someone so that they don't have to go through that learning curve by themselves, but can go to you and you can help navigate them through that.
Right.
Okay.
And it's important. Sharing is caring, So I do when I see someone that's driven, I rather pour into that person. And a lot of it comes from the fact that when I started out, there was nobody to pour into me. So it's important to me that I pour into other people. I love the money. Let's be clear, it's great money. However,
I do too.
Right. However, I love the fact that, to see somebody's face when I call them back, they call and first they do the whole dance with, well, my bank said this, and then they go see their bank and the bank gives them $2,000, and then they call me and I say, okay, well, this is what I need. That's all you need? Yeah, that's all I need. I'll call you back in about 48 hours, and then I say, so I got you $50,000. Like 50,000 real dollars? Like that's it for me.
Wow.
That's a high that I love.
Jada, what was your inspiration?
Me.
I like that.
Me. And I, I'm, people always go into I just want to be humble. I I say sometimes that humble thing can keep you on a bottom basement level, and I say this as humbly as I can. Humbleness is for the other person. Sometimes you just have to get down into it, inspire yourself. And that was it for me, because considering what the atmosphere that I grew up in, and considering the challenges that I had to face, and the things that I had to do to get to where I am now, I've always been my own inspiration. Along the way, I would see certain things that would create a drive in me, or I'll be around certain people that would create a drive in me. I would see certain things on TV that would motivate and fuel me, but at the end of the day, the inspiration was always me. And if some people need outside inspirations, or to say, oh, this is the person I want to be able to look, fine, that's what you need to do. But at some point in time, it should just go back to you should be your own inspiration, period. Because what you do for yourself is what's always going to last.
Wow. Let me ask you this, Jada, and I know my listeners really want to hear this. How do they get in touch with you for you to help them navigate those waters?
Okay, so very simple. You can get in contact with me at www.thebizlady.com, and that is THEBIZLADY.com. That on my website, it has all of the information about the loan programs, how to connect with me on social media. You can actually apply online, and it'll come directly to my team. and we'll contact you. You can also schedule an appointment to have a consultation. We call them quick chats, and that way we can kind of gauge where you are. And in addition to my website, you can also email me at jada@thebizlady.com. Also, if you are looking to be a part of my network, because I have a network of great strategic partners, lenders, and if you're providing a service outside of trying to get funding or trying to acquire any type of business capital, you email me, we'll have a conversation, and then I'll put you in with my network. And for all of my business owners that are looking for any type of services, I'll make sure that they get in contact with you.
Okay, now Jada, I want you to repeat that again because it's really important that the listeners hear that.
Okay.
So some of them may not have been ready to write that down.
Okay.
So let's do that one more time.
Okay. So you can reach me at www.thebizlady.com. For my email is Jada, Jada, at thebizlady.com, and that's spelled THEBIZLADY.com. And you can reach me for, if you wanted to apply, you can go on my website, social media, you can connect with me, you can find out about all the funding programs, you can even schedule an appointment on my website. For emails, if you wanted to just, reach out to me directly, that would be the best way. In addition to, if you want to be a part of my network, feel free to shoot me an email, we'll have a conversation, and then I'll be a referral point for my business owners to you.
Jada, that was amazing.
Thank you.
And I mean, totally. You're highly successful. You're willing to give back by helping others so that they can achieve their goals and get the monies necessary for their businesses.
Right.
So, I mean, I just have to thank you, Jada,
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Minority Business Access Podcast. Connect with us at solomonrcali.info to leave a review and access more resources. We hope you enjoyed this show and found great value. See you at the next episode.